wonder if I'm live. Pay attention to surroundings, and then, yep, we are live with a thumbs up and a ghost, meaning it says one thumbs up, but 0 people are here, according to YouTube. Let's talk about why now. Now it's 2 people, so, it just takes a little while to update. It's all good. So, the topic, why now? Why now? I'm going to ask a couple of questions about why now. We're going to ask why now about a couple of subjects. More so what I'm saying. Interesting. It is interesting, actually. It is interesting to think about why now. So, when we are, hello and welcome. When we think about the age of Notre Dame, Our Lady, you have to ask, why now? What is special about now? I would argue that evil was just as present when it was built, after it was built, 100 years later, 500 years later, 700 years later. Yes, there are more people on the planet with more capacity. Well, more people results in more opportunity for results of it. What is it besides? We could go with the theory or hypothesis of population. We could go with that. I'm gonna let you think about that one. What else could it be though? Because I have a feeling it's in why now? Why now? There's another interesting one. Exactly how long did it take from the day that Owen found out about the demonetization? Exactly how long did it take from that day to the day that he was paid? How many days was that? Why now? Interesting. But more so, that's not nearly as interesting as why 2019 for Notre Dame? Why now? Why now? So, ignorance seems like a really lame excuse. It does, just does. A lousy accident? No. Not a lousy accident. Not a lousy accident. Nope. That's one I'll never buy. I don't. Whatever they end up saying, if that's something that they end up claiming, that's one I'll refuse. I will be refusing that one. I don't know, QAnon. You think now is the greatest spread of the gospel ever? Do you not think that the early church, the apostles, was possibly proportionately the greatest spread of the gospel, proportionately speaking? The fastest was when in the book of Acts, the first, let's say, 50 years of Christianity, proportionately. I mean, I could be wrong. This looks like it's way jacked up. Is that better? Whoa! Downward, young man. There we go. That's a little better. I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. It could be. It could be. It could be now. I think that Owen, for anybody that watched Owen's stream today, that'd be Owen Benjamin. He hit on a couple of really good points. The power of life and death is in the tongue. He didn't quote that verse, but he certainly touched on the idea that there is significance to our words. He touched on the idea for sure. He basically paraphrased it. So there's that. That's very good, very important to remind ourselves of. And yes, despairing speech, it serves an evil purpose, and it can be hypothetically accidental. That doesn't mean that you should keep on. Once you realize that you're being despairing or fatalistic, then yeah, you should just be like, yeah, no, I'll not be doing this anymore. So anyway, that's my point on that. But welcome friends, welcome. Glad you're here. My questions are, why Notre Dame now? So many hundreds of years. Why now? Why now? And it's not about finding who to blame. I don't think that that's profitable. More so, what is it that's special about right now that makes something like that happen? Owen was saying it was potentially like judgment, you deserve this kind of potential statement from our Father in heaven. You don't even deserve this. Maybe. I just happen to think that God's not that impressed by architecture. Does it have order and goodness? Potentially. But on the other hand, I mean, so part of Notre Dame that is very, it's Eastern, got some Eastern mysticism to the nature of it. But I get the point at the same time. So one of the aspects of Notre Dame was that it was built in such a way so that when you walked into it, your attention was immediately upward attention instantly. You walk in and you go, oh, right? So here's the issue. Let's say, and this could be off. But let's say somebody has a golden, well, actually, forget that. Back in the day when I was a kid, at least, a lot of Bibles had gold leafing. So when you closed the book, ironically, kind of interesting, you could see the gold when you closed the book. You lost the gold when you opened it. All the pages would spread out and you wouldn't see the gold anymore. So in order to cherish the gold, you would have to, this is really weird what I'm saying out loud right now and thinking about. I never thought about it until this moment in that regard. I didn't care. It was like, oh, look, it's gold. That's weird. Wonder why. I mean, I guess because the word is precious, but here's the thing. Does the gold leafing on the side of a Bible cause you to appreciate the words within more? And if it does, then you probably have some mixed up priorities. Okay, so let me travel that. Do you like that word? How I'm using the word travel as a verb? I mean, yes. What it doesn't matter. You get the point. Let me use that concept of putting gold leafing on the Bible hypothetically could make you appreciate the words more and just embellish their value. Okay? Obviously, there's a problem with that. I'm not sure if you can see that. But we'll move on to the metaphor or the analogy. This is actually an analogy. So the analogy that I'm bringing forth is that of these churches like Notre Dame that are grand and spectacular and have great order and design, and hypothetically they can be a metaphor for the creativity that God has instilled in us as part of His creation, as part of being in His image. and architecture and art and those sorts of things can be a display of God's creative nature and how we are created in His image. They can be. However, there's a little bit of a flip side to that. When a ritual or an object is taking place of the actual glory and holiness and awesomeness of God, that's called idolatry. Can somebody have idol worship of the Bible? Yeah. Can somebody have idol worship of the church? Yeah. Can somebody have idol worship of a pastor or a preacher or a priest or any of the sorts? Can somebody idolize a human or Mary or anyone except for God? Yeah, of course. Okay. So, though there was beauty and history and value, intrinsic value to the building, to Notre Dame, there was value and quality, and it was worth preserving. However, it wasn't God Himself. And some of you are probably scratching your head at that sentence as possibly one of the most duh things that you've heard all year or maybe in your entire life. Well, duh, it wasn't God, you moron. Hey, first of all, I didn't call you a name. Second of all, you have to understand why I use the words I use. I'm explaining to call a beautiful crafted building, all these things, and to idolize anything is to call it God. That's the point. That's all I'm trying to say. So when somebody does actually idolize something, they lift it up as its value is equal to or even hypothetically above God. Well, that is called idol worship. It's a gross violation of God's law, and there are strict consequences for that. So as I say that, it would be hard to make the argument that the church is being burnt down because of hypothetical idol worship. Well, that's a hard argument to stand by, especially when you factor in the question, why now? So why now? So whether or not Notre Dame was idol worship for anyone, I'm not saying it was. I am saying it could have been for some people when they recognize the beauty of the building and refuse to acknowledge the one who enables our ability to be creative in the first place. That obviously would be at least knocking at the door of idolatry, if not blatantly swimming in the pool of idolatry. Metaphors. I think you get the point. So, why now? I'm asking the question because I'm really actually thinking about what are factors that play in to why now. Are there any other events happening in our world right now that are similar to a destruction of that which is supposed to represent beauty and order? Let's think really hard about this one. Is there anything that hypothetically represents a beautiful order that God ordained that even in some ways has been argued, whether right or not, it has been at least argued by aged, seasoned theologians that that this thing is metaphorically related to the Trinity. If you don't know what the Trinity is, it is the word that doesn't appear in the Bible that we use to describe three oneness. Three oneness. That's all Trinity means. It just literally means the combination of three that is also one. It tri being three, unity being one. That is what the word Trinity means. Some of you already knew that. Maybe some of you were confused by the word. That's all it means. Anyway, there is this thing in our world that God has given us, hypothetically, a lot of theologians have argued this, that shows a representation of his Trinity, his three-in-oneness, right here on earth, that some of us get the privilege of experiencing. And it shows the beauty and order and awesomeness of God. And is it being destroyed? Yes, it is. Is it actually being destroyed? No, that's a case-by-case basis. Is it being attempted to be dismantled and tried to set flames to, metaphorically the same as Notre Dame? Yeah, I would say so. What is this thing that may or may not represent a potential access as humans to understand the Trinity of God? Well, that would be the Institute of Marriage. How so? Do people make this argument that marriage could represent the Trinity? That seems a very far-fetched argument. I understand that, and if you're saying that, if you are arguing that that seems really far-fetched, that marriage could possibly represent the Trinity, I respect that argument and that protest. Let's explore the idea briefly, and you can read the Bible and figure it out for yourself. But I at least respect that you're protesting, because you must understand the awesome godness of God is very exclusive and set apart and holy, and very much further above our ways. So in that, it seems very difficult to understand that something as accessible as marriage could possibly get close to representing the Trinity of God. However, this is where they argue. This is how these folks attempt to explain. And there is some value in their argument, because you can talk about the father-child relationship and make metaphors between the Father and the Son, as in God and Jesus, and that relationship, and we analogize, we create analogies on that all the time. I don't know if it's analogize or I don't know how you verbicize these doctors showing their love to the women. Sorry, it's a George Bush thing. You might be too young, but if you're not, then you get it. These doctors showing their love to the women. Oh, you're an awkward man, sir. I don't know how you squared that one away in your brain before it came out of your mouth. But anyway, we'll move on. Enough with Bush. No irony there at all. So here's what they say. They say there is man, there is woman. That's two parts. And then there is God in his own selfness. And that three-partness and the relation between the three hypothetically could represent an aspect or a taste, like a tiny little sample of the nature of the Trinity, of who God is and how he has communion within himself. It's interesting. It's interesting. I like the word perichoresis. I like the word perichoresis. It's a Greek word. It means circle dance. That's an interesting ancient concept about how the Trinity works. There's a lot of ideas about it. Why am I talking about the Trinity? Why am I talking about marriage? I'm just talking about the Trinity as the nature of who God is, as beautiful and has order, and is something that is just part of his character and is him, but the things that are us are also part of our character. I think I need to be going 10 miles faster. Yeah. I'm always chilling. I'm always chilling so much that I'm just like, I don't even need to go the speed limit, dog. I'm on a different level than you guys. I'm just chilling. I'm in no hurry. These people are like speeding by me, flipping me off, cussing at the sky because this dude is traveling 10 miles below the speed limit. They're just like hating their own life because they can't get to where they want, 17.5 seconds faster than they otherwise would have been able to. 17 seconds, guys. It's definitely worth a couple of popped arteries in your neck, dying of a heart attack, high blood pressure. Yes, I know that's sarcasm. Chill out. It's okay. Relax. You need to relax. When I say relax, you need to relax, I'm totally thinking of Will Ferrell with Pearl, the nightmare landlord. She was like, I don't know, 4 years old or 6 years old. Give me my money. Funny or die, or something or other. Laugh or die. I don't know. Old school stuff. Majorly old school stuff. It's all good. We're going to move on. We're going to progress. I'm going to get past this. I'm going to get past this. All right. So why now? Why did I just put that down, huh? Why now? Well, because I recognized that there was a change in the way I felt. My eyes were not enjoying that. So what about the building? Well, what's different in France? What's different now than in the 13th century? What's different in France now that probably wasn't the case in the 19th century or the 20th century, like 100 years ago? What's different? Is it, there's no such thing as coincidence. Okay, maybe not, maybe. Does every single thing have meaning? No. Good old Solomon. Solomon tried to poke some holes in meaning. There's a couple of reasons why. You know why? You want to know why Solomon tried to poke some holes in meaning? Hevel. Meaningless. See, some translations will use the word vanity. And you know what you think when you read that? You're like, vanity? Oh, so trying to look nice. Yeah, okay, so it's talking about trying to look nice. Not exactly. I'm not saying that's a bad translation. It's just sometimes translations lose their meaning based on current understanding of words. So the way that we understand vanity now has changed since that was translated in that way. The person who had that in mind is all I'm saying. So what does hevel mean? Well, another translation will say meaningless. Vanity. What is waste? What is lost? What has no value? It's like, it's exactly, just read the book of Ecclesiastes. You'll see for yourself. You'll be like, oh, that's what he's saying. And he describes exactly what meaningless is. All the days you will work and then you die and you have nothing to show for it, really. All this stuff. But why look at the meaningless things in life and except to understand the point. This is the whole duty of man, to fear God, keep his commandments. And then you ask, yes, and you should ask, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? How, if that's what I need to do in life, if that's what I need to do, this is important. I need to fear God and keep his commandments, and this is important. How do I do this? What does that even mean? Okay. So if that is important, and I would say it is, how do we fear God and keep his commandments? If you love me, just many books later, after the book of Ecclesiastes, many books later, if you love me, you will, what? What is that? Huh? He say, keep my commandments. So love is related to keeping his commandments. Well, that's weird. What does that even mean? Here's what's really wild. There's a difference between someone that looks at the law as a burden and somebody that looks at the law as part of who God is and wants to be about that life, not for their own sake, but for his sake. Hey, why do I want to do all the things that you love God? Prove yourself to God or anyone else? Well, the law is bondage for you. It will be your condemnation. It will be what condemns you to hell. However, once you receive the grace of God, the salvation of Jesus, faith alone, by grace alone, once you have that, the law is not a burden. It is your freedom. It's kind of weird how that works. And it's only your freedom because of Jesus. Interesting. Point of interesting. Notre Dame. See if they'll flag this video. Get a Wikipedia article at the bottom of this video because I say Notre Dame so many times. What would the article be about? Transgender studies or some nonsense? What does this have to do with, guys? What's the point? What was the point of destroying Notre Dame? What does it do? What is no longer... Okay, so let me ask you this. Is it a message? Is it a warning? Just think. Ask the question. We don't know for sure, but ask the question. Is the destruction of Notre Dame a message supposed to send a signal, a warning of some kind? I don't know from who, but just some kind of warning. Or was it actually removing something from our planet, from our existence, from our knowledge, from something? So is something lost or is something gained is my question. Or is it both? It could be both. Let's not be too narrow-minded. It could be both. And if something is gained, what is that? What is that? I want to know. I want to know what you guys have to think about that. If we lost something, what did we lose? And I know some of you are going to be, well, we lost architecture, we lost beautiful, crafted, just design and order and all that. Okay. Yeah. And that has happened before in history many, many times. What did they gain? And by they, I mean whoever is responsible. It could be a wide variety or a number of groups. What? No. I hope I'm still live. My computer's like trying to tell me that it was going to restart. I said, wait an hour. Leave me alone. Crazy. I'm getting a phone call. Does that disrupt the... Am I still live? Supposedly I'm still live. You would think that that would disrupt the live stream. Hello, Wookie Bear. I see a lot of... well, there was 9 people, but I don't know what happened. All right, so what did they, whoever they are, I mean, it could be Satan, it could be a group of people, it could be many groups of people. What did they gain? What did they gain? And then what did we lose? We being society. We being all people that exist after the destruction of Notre Dame. So those, I think, are good questions to try and figure out. What did we lose? What did they gain? Because it is probably both. I think it's worth thinking about. So, for the record, I'm going to try and be going into work. I'm going to be leaving around 5:30 Central Standard Time. Around that time this week. Enough for to get started at work at 6:30. And, yeah, see how that works. I'm trying to go to bed early this week. I usually have been doing streams in the evening, but this is supposedly the last week of overtime. So, supposedly. I'm doubtful. But 10 new hires are about to hit the floor at the end of this week. So, that'll change some things. That'll change a little bit. Anyway. Why now? I discussed a little bit about how there was a destruction of the role of marriage, what it looks like in the world. There's that. There's a lot of other things that are beautiful and have order and purpose that are trying to be dismantled, destroyed. I don't want to just turn Notre Dame into a metaphor. I don't want to just do that. But could be related to some other things. And I guess the other question is this. What do we learn? What do we do? What can we learn and what do we do? Put it that way. What can we learn by this and what do we do about it? I don't know what we can learn that we don't already know. That's a hard one to answer for me. What can we learn that we don't already know? It's tough. I'm fixing to fuel up my vehicle. It costs, on average, $50 to fuel up. You know, I thought it was interesting that somebody commented on Owen Benjamin thing that said somebody said that $29,000, and they were like, yeah, that's more than I make in a year. And guess what? Me too. I was a little surprised. I mean, I know there's plenty of people that make less. I don't actually know. I don't know any families of 5 that grossed 23,000 last year, like I did. My gross income. Folks want to criticize me for bringing up money. When you have a problem, you can be quiet about it and not ever talk about a problem that's present in your life, or you can bring it up for the sake of teaching. Hey, this is what it looks like when somebody's working through a problem, and for support. So there's two different ways to look at it. You can say, hey, look at what happens when you're going through problems. You have troubles in your life. This is what it looks like when somebody's doing their best to work through them. Still be grateful and thankful, and pursue the truth and the gospel, and proclaim it, and not make their life all about money, because it's definitely. If my life was all about money, I'd probably be a lot more prosperous. But because it's not the priority in my life, that is a big reason why I'm not rich. Because I've seen the paths. I've seen exactly the paths and the things that I would have had to have done in my past in order to succeed. I had opportunities for money that I turned down because of what they meant, morally, spiritually. And I'm not interested. I've had opportunities to get up jobs and incomes that would have been triple or quadruple of anything I've ever seen. Just for a little lie. Just a little lie. Would have been easy. Just boom. Clickety, clickety, click on a sheet of paper. And that's it. And I watched it happen in somebody else's life. And now that person is near schizophrenic level with Trump derangement syndrome. On the verge of schizophrenia. Trump derangement syndrome. And I pray to God that they repent and come back to Jesus and recognize that they got it wrong. Not about Trump. That doesn't matter. It's not important. Not about that at all. That's not important. Again, I will repeat, that's not important. But what they got wrong was deceit for gain, to lie to get ahead. And that's not the kind of life I want to live. So when I bring up money, I'm about to fill out my tank. Hey, I'm trying to be homeless with my family. We're trying to get out of a rental, and we have a plan to become homeless by living in an RV and not have an actual home anymore, and change our lifestyle in a drastic reduction kind of way, not for the sake of more pleasure, but for the sake of having greater access of generosity, for the access of being able to do more, being more free from the hindrances of a massive overhead, all of that. And it begs the question, the thought goes in my head every time, what are you doing with what you have? Because that really tells me what kind of person you are. What are you doing with what you do have? The little that you do have, what are you doing with it? And that, you're absolutely right. That is the right question to ask. What have you done and what are you doing? So when I've had a lot more money, I've been a lot more generous. Provably, I can prove that to myself, and to nobody really needs to know that, because the thing about when we are giving, we need to give in such a way that our left hand doesn't know what our right hand is doing, vice versa, and in such a way that we never expect anything back. It's all in the Bible. Go read it for yourself. Look it up. What does the Bible say about giving? What does the Bible say about generosity? What does the Bible say about when someone asks? Ask those questions. Look it up. Read about it. It's good. And then what am I doing now that I have much less? I'm giving proportionately what I possibly can. Still, I'm not withholding everything and clutching my fingers to the dimes and quarters that I may be able to cling to. I'm still generous. I'm still trusting and living a life of faithfulness that God will provide, even in the midst of financial destitution. And that's the point. So a lot of people think that the point is accumulation. That's not what I read. Massive accumulation of wealth and status and all those sorts of things. That's not what I read about. I need to fill up the car. And then I'll read some of your all's QAnon Bear. I'm very familiar with Creflo Dollar. If that's a negative documentary against Creflo Dollar, then that's obviously a good thing, because the man is literally insane. Yeah, not Reflections on Liberty. It wouldn't have been easier morally or spiritually. It would have been easier financially. But over and over again, I'm blessed with the opportunity to know truth, and recognize the fact that that's not what I want. I'm not interested in in selling my soul, in giving up the blessings of obeying God for some type of financial temporary gain. I get it, and yeah. So why would I even ask for anything from anyone, money or support? Why would I even mention that at all if I don't care about? It's a means to an end. That's all. And I'm not actually financially capable of doing this homeless adventure right now. Nobody's ever prepared to become homeless. I get that. Got 3 children, and I do want to set it up in such a way that we're not like leaving our home and going into a trailer that is full of black mold and just garbage, and it's going to fall apart into 15 different pieces, and then we don't have anything at all. No, there's no guarantees in life. You can't secure everything. I get it, but I also know that God gave us some ability to be prudent. I just want to be a little prudent, and what's the other word? A good steward. That's the point. I'm gonna go ahead and fill up. There's a really drunk man walking towards the gas station. Really drunk. I hope he doesn't fall down. All right, I'm gonna fill up. Because I was wrong. The guy wasn't drunk. I mean, he might be drunk. Looks like he's drunk. He was a cigarette hunter. He just was going in the ashtrays and he found himself a cigarette. I got it all wrong. I'm willing to admit it when I'm wrong about something. He found a cigarette and he's smoking it now. He's a hunter, not necessarily drunk. So I just wanted to clarify that with you guys, that I misjudged someone. I thought he was just a drunk. Instead, he went searching in the ashtray and he found himself a cigarette because he's a hunter. And that's what men are. We're hunters, no matter the mental state. Just saying. $49.11. Yep. Veskia, never seen you before. Welcome. Glad to see you here. It looks like a lot of comments. I will have to read through that. That's a lot. And it looks like folks have come and gone. But that's cool. I hope. Yeah, 29K is not a ton of money, but you can live off of it. Yeah, I make $14 an hour. I have 3 kids and a wife. And not counting food, my overhead is $1,800. Not counting food. That gives you some perspective. And then there's, anyway. It's interesting. It's interesting. I'm not in a good place, but I keep on putting in applications. I'm highly qualified and capable. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I am highly qualified. I've got a master's degree. I've got over a decade of experience. Got nearly 20 years of amateur website experience, but I get it. PHP, SQL, all that stuff. I just don't have any of the certifications. I've just so many ways I could have really just buckled down. I just wasn't interested in a career. I was always interested in doing the most of the kingdom that I possibly could at the time. And maybe I should re-clarify all the stories I've told you guys about the different jobs that I've taken in the context of the way that I was doing what I was doing. The reason I was doing what I was doing was I was literally pursuing obedience to God and trying to make do the most I could with the gifts I have for the kingdom, for the sake of showing love, God's love to different people, to the poor, to the orphans, to the broken marriages. All the sorts of things that I've done have always centered around that. So yeah, anyway. And was it worth it? Of course it's worth it. God has blessed me to continue to not actually be homeless. And when I say I want to be homeless with my family of 5, yeah, I'm being facetious, but you're kind of, is an RV a home? Yeah. If it's the only thing that you have is like living in your car, that's just a really big car. According to Dave Ramsey and lots of other people, yeah, it is just basically like living in a car. And you're just hoping for the best. And you really are just hoping for the level of stability is definitely not going up when you're moving from a house to a vehicle. Your level of security and stability in life is not going up. It's not getting more. It's getting less. So why would you make a move in that direction if it weren't for a purpose? What is that purpose? It has to do with Farm Unity 2024. That's what it has to do with. It has to do with a plan to be less encumbered. That's what it's all about. Less encumbered. Interesting. Wow. I guess they had a little marriage ceremony in their driveway. That's how to do it. That is how to do it. Forget spending thousands of dollars on a stupid facility. They had a nice little, like tight little gravel driveway. Kind of. They had like a little, I don't know. It's pretty enough. It's not a big deal. What's more important? Staring at those pictures or loving your wife and respecting your husband? Which is more important? Huh? Do you know we never bought the package. We wanted to. We were like, oh, it's only $250. We'll buy the package after we can afford it. We'll buy the package of pictures. I emailed the lady a couple of years ago. She's like, yeah, I keep everything. Keep everything. So she still has it. Well, she did a couple of years ago, at least. I don't know, maybe 10 years. I mean, it's been 9. Maybe she's gotten rid of them. I don't know. I'm sure. I don't know. I really don't know. But we never bought them. Why not? Because for the most part, my wife and I care more about our relationship with each other and our relationship with God than the pictures. We got a handful of the pictures, and it is what it is. I think 1 or 2 of them we keep up in the house. But anyway, why am I talking about this? I saw a little setup in the driveway, very obviously for a wedding ceremony. It had the arch. There's an English word for it besides arch. Doesn't matter. I don't know. Yes, I'm from America. Yes, English is my first language. But I've done so much language studies, I sometimes forget the English words for things. That's so weird. I don't know. Because I think that part of my brain thinks that English isn't good enough, which it isn't most of the time. So that I want to preserve the meaning of the words so much that I refuse to even remember the word in English. And then I sound like I'm a moron because I don't know the word. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm like, they get it. Look at that. Ceremony. Driveway of mom and dad's house. Maybe it's their house. I don't know. Probably not. Hopefully not. So just to reiterate, I bring up these things, my goals, these aspirations I have, for 2 reasons: to show the goodness of God and His blessings, and how He's good, and how that love and goodness is displayed by. It's like a testimony. I'm like sharing my life with you, and it over time is a testimony of His goodness and awesomeness. In whatever happens, God is good all the time, no matter what happens from it. It's God is great and good. and to take seriously some of the other aspects of Scripture about how we are to support each other. I want to do that for you, and I think that it's okay to ask. And people get frustrated because nobody likes feeling like any feelings of guilt, and there's like, and I said a couple of different times, and I'll repeat it. There should be no feelings, and that doesn't come from me or what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So let me give you an example. I didn't move 1,000 miles away from where I used to live down here to Florida, 1,000-mile moving trip. I didn't move down here because of guilt. Do you know why I moved down here? Because of duty, because of what was good. Did it result in a lot of suffering? Kind of. Does it matter? No. Is it a test? Yeah, big time. It's awesome. But I moved 1,000 miles for the sake of the goodness of God and to demonstrate that proactively in the life of sister-in-law and brother-in-law. They're my sister and brother-in-law. It's my wife's sister. It was by my prompting. I didn't prompt myself. Who prompted me, guys? Who gave me the desire to move 1,000 miles away and reduce my income by 50% and then get robbed from the company that I was working for the entirety of my income and not get paid? So then I went from 50% reduction to another 50% reduction. Yeah. I didn't prompt myself to that lifestyle. That stuff comes from God. So much less work in an RV. Yeah, I've heard that. As far as the she does homeschooling, and it be interesting. I mean, it's an extreme lifestyle change, and the plan is to do it in about 13 and a half months. Might come earlier. It depends on a couple of factors and the support of the Bears and anybody else that might choose to support us in the venture. So, yeah, we would have a hookup. We've already located the ideal place that would reduce our overhead expenses by $800. And in that, it would get us to triple digits. Instead of $1,800, I think we could get it under 1,000. And that kind of drastic change would really free us up, regardless of the job I was working. Even if I was still only making $14 an hour, we would be freer to be more generous and proactive and planning for Farm Unity 2024. Yeah, QAnon, you're right. It's because it's about proportionality and the widow's mite and all of that. When you can't do any, like, if you can only give $5 a month to something, and you would much rather give $500 because you know the difference it would make, there is a tangible difference between 5 and 500. Not in the eyes of God and our heart and the condition and our obedience, not any of that. But practically speaking, there is a difference. Does that make sense? It's about the practicality of it. And no, God is not practical. He obviously is concerned about how we are loving him and how we are being obedient, what we do have, and that is the most important thing. Absolutely. I get that. But we are literally not above the water. So something has to change. So that's the main point. I'm living in one of the cheapest homes in the city, in one of the poorest, well, the poorest county in Florida. It's not the poorest city in America, but it's the second cheapest beach town in America, surprisingly. I mean, maybe not surprisingly. The poorest county in Florida, making about half, 28, yeah, half of the national average, or less than half. For a family of 5, I don't even know what the national average is. But anyway, I'm done with that. It's all good. All right, so I will follow up on some of the older comments, and leave comments in the description, or in the after the video post, if there's anything that you think I didn't follow up on, and I always follow up on those because they show up in my app. And this was in there. Why now? Why now? Well, I would say why now? There's no better time to be obedient to God, to His word. There's no better time than right now. So if the enemy is making moves right now, we better be making moves right now. Be obedient to His word. Love what God loves, and find out what God loves in His word. Good night. I may or may not see you later on this evening.